This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
Howdy, howdy. Yes, those tickets are going fast. September 19th and 20th, Missouri, Crossing Realms Conference, Paranormal, UFOs, and, of course, Cryptids. Go to Eventbrite to secure your spot. It can be fantastic down there in Missouri. Thanks, everybody, for coming on in. This is, of course, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. Got a great guest. Friend of mine, Duke Sullivan, World Bigfoot Radio, World Bigfoot Central, joining me today. We're going to talk a little mountain giants. Yeah, haven't done this in a while. And thanks to Duke in advance for coming on in. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Donnie Show says stuff. He's got a wild show. Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. And if there's one more out there, Paranormal Paul. And of course, don't forget, if you have not subscribed already, World Bigfoot Central, Duke Sullivan, fantastic show. You can catch him Sunday nights, typically. I think it's 9 or 10 in the East. I'll have to confirm that with Duke. I will bring him up here shortly. I want to thank everybody for buying my books. Of course, on Amazon, Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. Book 2, simply type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. They'll pull up. One of my book links is posted here in the chat, as well as Duke's channel is posted here in the chat for you guys to check him out as well. The Super Chat's open, a great way to help support what we do around here. Also, you can become a BMR pirate, mateys. Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. You get a picture of me in the chat room. That's what you get. Sporting, of course, a multicolored bandana. That's what you get. Hit that like button. Leave a comment after the show. And I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to bring up Mr. Sullivan. Hello, Duke.
Howdy doody. Big Sky howdy from Montana, yes, where it's still raining.
Still raining. Well, today it's bright and sunny today. Yes, so.
We had fun yesterday. One of my friends that rarely gets here gets to stop by about every 2 or 3 years. Had some time. Went, hey, can we go try and find some Bigfoot evidence? And I went, dude, it's raining. Oh, okay. So we went. The previous 2 times he was here, one day we had good weather, and the other day it was kind of lousy. So we just kind of stuck near the valley. And I went, well, let's just do the half-hour drive up to the ghost town and see if we could find anything up there. It's the middle of the week. The weather sucks. No one's going to be there. We'll have 100% of the Bigfoot's attention.
Yeah,
let's go. So, yeah, we went up there and we got not only rained on but hailed on.
Yes,
and we heard this thunderclap that was like, this thing went on for over a minute. I've never heard a thunderclap like that before. It just rolled across the mountain. It wouldn't stop. And that was the only one. Then there was no more thunder or anything. So that was pretty weird. And then the only other audio thing we had happen that was interesting there is we heard one wood knock, but it's like raining and stuff. So it has to be pretty obvious for you to go, okay, that's a wood knock. And we both went, hey, that was a wood knock. So that one was pretty obvious. And I found some 12-inch tracks and some 16-inch tracks. And then my buddy Vinny that was with me found the big track of the day, which is a Big Toe, the alpha clan leader there, has a 22-inch foot. And Vinny found one of his tracks. So he was all super thrilled, like, that's the biggest Bigfoot track I've ever seen. I'll put your foot next to it. I'll shoot some video. So we're going to have that out this Sunday. We're going to do a reprise, retread of the 2 previous times he had been here and show all the evidence we found, and then we'll show all the stuff we found this weekend. And we also went down to the local sporting goods store, which is Shields, and it's like a gigantic sports goods mart, blah blah. And they've got like bronze statues out in front of it and stuff. I mean, they're like just spent tons of money on this place. And right in the atrium, when you come in, there's a 10-foot Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, okay. Red.
And he's got a T-shirt on with Shields design that says Huck on it. And I said, yeah, you know, if you get out of line, he's going to huck you out the door. So you better not do anything bad. So I got Dwayne to stand next to him so he could get a size comparison stuff. So that was his documenting his big, you know, once every 2 or 3 years trip to Montana for a day to go out bigfooting.
Well, not all was wasted. That was interesting. You never know about the wood knocks and the rain. Then you had the hail and the thunder in the background. You know, it was, you know.
Even though it was the middle of the day, the woods were nice and dark and really creepy looking. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, I'd have to imagine a lot of parts of Montana is relatively creepy looking. I know it's a beautiful state and all, but you probably get in some places that, you know, got that creepy vibe going on.
Oh yeah, there's places where you walk into them and take a look at it and go, I don't really want to walk any further into here. This place is giving off a really bad vibe, you know. Plus the terrain's horrendous, and I don't want to fight my way over and around all this stuff.
Yes, I hear you. So, with that being said, we're doing a little mountain giants to start the show. Now, we could talk for years on this because it's kind of complicated. We're not going to get into all the history of all of that. I've also, for everybody watching, thanks for coming in. I got some cool photos Duke sent to me from his exploits out in Montana, which I'm going to share with you guys, and Duke can talk about those a little bit. But for those people, just the nuts and bolts, mountain giants, they're not Bigfoot, right? That's something, you know, where do they first originate from? Without getting too technical.
Well, they're in mythology all over the world. Everybody calls them something different.
Right.
The Norse, basically the Vikings and stuff, are the ones that started really talking about mountain giants. And of course, they were talking about mountain trolls. They got all these different types of trolls. And the mountain trolls live up in the mountains, and you don't get to see them usually. They're not supposed to make a general appearance until Ragnarok. Then they're going to come down out of the mountains and eat everyone. But
yeah, well, if you notice my little thumbnail picture in the background, that's a mountain troll.
Yeah, good pick. Yeah, that's pretty much where the mythology started. The reason it crept in is because Lauren Coleman did a book on giants, true giants, I think is what it's called. Then he was finding all these outliers in the data set of things that didn't seem to be Bigfoot.
Yeah, and
he just threw it all against the wall to see what would stick. And I went through it and went, this, all conform to each other. These other ones are like, I don't know what to make of them. But there's a bunch of these that all have the same sort of traits and data set to them. And one of the things was the tracks, which they don't look like Bigfoot tracks. They don't have 5 toes. They have 4. And they don't have a curving front of their foot. It's pretty much uniformly straight across with 4 big toes that are all the same size. But other than that, it looks like a human track, just gigantic. And they tend to be a little bit wider. So he actually had some pictures of a couple of them and stuff. And since then, I found actually some of those same tracks myself. I found one, and my co-researcher, Michael Matt, found the first one. And both of them were up by the ghost town that I was just at yesterday. So these have been all over the country, and there's up in Alaska to all the way down in Mississippi, and what was it, Acorn, Mississippi or something, early 70s. They got a picture of one of those big fat 4-toed tracks down there too. So there's something else of gigantic size is wandering around, and for the sake of that's probably what it is. They're just calling them mountain trolls. And no, they're not Bigfoot because they're showing, completely different physiology, especially the foot. The foot, you could expect there's going to be some mutant Bigfoots. Occasionally one's going to get a toe cut off or something like that.
Right.
But when you got both feet showing the same abnormality, it's either some kind of a genetic defect or there's actually a different genetic line that is showing these only 4 toes. And when you start finding the tracks all over the country that have these 4 toes, it's like, okay, there's some kind of other species out here.
And as you said, it's more of a flat foot on the imprint. It doesn't give a lot of
Yeah, there's no instep, but then with Bigfoot tracks, there's no instep either. They're
Right.
just too gigantic. Their weight can't accommodate that kind of a physiological setup on them.
And these giants, dude, they get anywhere from what? I mean, if you go back to the Bible, David and Goliath, I can never figure that one out, because I think technically the giant slain by David was no more than 9.5 foot tall.
Yeah, Goliath of Gath. He also had 4 brothers there on the battlefield with him. There's 5 of them that were all giants, and they're from the Nephilim bloodline.
Yeah.
There were some of them were living in the area of Gath, so they were the big thugs that would work for him on the battlefield. And after David stunned Goliath with the rock and then pulled Goliath's own sword and cut his head off,
Right.
his four brothers chickened out, took a powder, and bravely ran away. Away.
Yeah. And then that's back then. And then now is it? We've heard.
But really, the question here is that since it actually mentions that the men of Gath had 6 digits, was that a trait of all the Nephilim, or was it just that one bloodline? Because if it was a trait of all the Nephilim, then you would expect that giant tracks should have 6 toes, and there are some examples of that. But we don't know for sure. We just don't know for sure. According to the biblical account, at least this one branch of the Nephilim had 6 digits, and it may be that all of the Nephilim had 6 digits.
Okay.
Today, there are still people that have 6 digits as a rare abnormality, and interestingly, a lot of them are clustered around the Solomon Islands, which claim to still have giants, and have definitely had giants capture their women and inbreed with them. And that may be where this genetic trait came from, because they did actually. They found one specific genetic marker in that island population that doesn't appear anywhere else in the world. They can't figure out where it came from.
Wow.
And the Solomon Islands flag, it's literally the land that time forgot.
Yeah, and that island, I mean, how big is this island? I mean,
it's a whole chain of islands. This is where all the battles of Midway and stuff like that happened. Guadalcanal, all of that. There's a whole bunch of islands there. Some of them are quite gigantic. And the natives tend to live around the coast. They don't live inland for some reason.
Let me ask you, since, giants are definitely big. I've heard stories of them being 90 foot, 120 foot tall. How can they keep themselves concealed in these island chains? It seems like they'd be spotted relatively easily.
I don't think there are any giants that size at this point, at least not on the surface. Those are pre-flood giants. And that would be what the Greeks called titans. They're absolutely enormous. And then as the generations progressed, they got, I don't know if the blood got more diluted or what happened exactly, but they seem to have gotten smaller and smaller. The post-flood giants, you hear about them being about like 15 feet tall. And that was the red-haired giant of Kandahar, the red-haired giants of Lovelock Cave here in North America. They've all got red hair, and they talk about them being 12, 15 feet tall. So apparently the post-flood giants are not as big. But again, the question comes up, what kind of tracks are they leaving? If somebody had spot one of these guys and then wait until he left and go over to where his tracks were and take a look at them, it'd be really handy for us to know if he left 5 or 6 toed tracks.
Right. And also first of all, so you're talking about during the days of Noah, pre-flood. Now, we've all heard about, we're not getting in depth in this either, the fallen 200, the angels cast out of heaven that mated with human women. Now, that, they call those demigods, or is that's basically a giant, though, right? Back then, correct?
Well, yeah, there were the fallen angels, and then as soon as the fallen angels mated with human women, the offspring were all Nephilim. So those were the same thing as a giant. As a matter of fact, the word actually, when translated originally, it was Nephilim, and they translated it into English as giant. So when you see it in your Bible where it says giant, the original word was Nephilim.
Okay. Also, I was reading somewhere. You've probably told me this a while back. Another peculiar trait is don't they have like most of them or some have like two rows of teeth versus
Yep, that's another thing that's mentioned too. Double rows of teeth, 6 digits, double rows of teeth. And I know there's people out there running around saying that Bigfoot or Nephilim. Like, well, okay, show me a Bigfoot track that's got 6 toes.
right. You're not gonna find
Never seen one.
right. Yeah, if you saw something with 6 toes, guess what? We're talking a giant.
Yeah, well, then guarantee you, it's either the extremely abnormal human, which is possible. Some humans have 6 digits because abnormalities, but
It does
polydactylism. But if you see some giant track with 6 toes, it's probably a giant track.
Yeah, well, I would guess so. So you do think that they do exist today, but of course they're not as huge as, like you say, maybe 15 foot tall they get. And
Yep.
And from where you do some of your research, well, a lot of your research in Montana, do you have, in your opinion, giants out in the mountains of Montana?
Unfortunately, yes, I think they do still exist. And the locals that have lived here their whole life that are in the know on what all the local lore is. I actually had one on my show last fall, flat out telling me there's certain mountain ranges. All the locals know there's giants there. They don't go there. Well, what about the tourists? No, we don't care about them.
No, yeah. It's free food.
Yeah, pretty much. No, they're not eating the locals. They're eating tourists. It's fine.
Yeah. The tourists can come.
Yeah. Come on vacation, stay on probation. That's Montana.
Yeah. And Montana, that's why Montana has the highest rate of 411 occurrences, right?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
Alaska's got us beat by a long shot. They lose a big chunk of their population every year to gone missing. What is gone missing? No other state has this thing called gone missing, where it's like, oh, my neighbor walked off in the woods and never came back. He gone missing. What?
Really quick, a little bit before I forget, Christy, our buddy Christy, she want to ask you really quickly about the Janasqua. That's not affiliated with the giant, or is it?
No, different cryptid.
Right.
Janasqua have 5-toed tracks just like a Bigfoot.
Okay.
So if you see in a gigantic 5-toed track, you would not be able to tell if it was a Bigfoot or a Janasqua.
Okay.
From what I hear, some of the Janasqua do actually have 6 digits. So again, it would be hard to tell what you were looking at. A Janasqua is a hybrid between the giants and the Bigfoot.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So they look like a giant Bigfoot.
Okay.
And they're not very friendly for the most part. They're extremely big. And that could be one of because the Sasquatch don't get as big as the Janasqua get. The Janasqua, you're talking like 20 feet.
Yeah, that's another thing that's out there, everybody. And there's so much out there that nobody knows about, or
the problem is the more you know, the more confusing it gets to be, because just like real life and classifying animals zoologically and taxonomically, we start out with these basic classes and then we go, oh wait, there's the subclass over here and this one isn't right. It should be split into these 2 classes and blah, blah, blah. And it just gets ridiculous after a while. But that's because that's the way nature is. It doesn't do everything black and white.
And what about really quickly, everybody, we've all seen various images of Bigfoot. Many of us have seen a Bigfoot in person. You and I have, and a lot of people in chat have. Let me ask you though, really briefly though, giants do not look anything like a Bigfoot, right? Do they look more humanoid?
They look like humans, yeah. There's supposed to have been one branch of the Nephilim called the Horim that were notorious for being hairy, but so were Turks. That doesn't mean that they look like a Bigfoot, but yeah, they're supposed to look just basically like normal humans, only giant size. And the most recent ones, of course, the Lovelock Cave over here in North America, they had red hair, and the Kandahar giant, red hair. And they said, in both cases, they looked like giant white men. They had white skin and everything. They're giant white men with red hair. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, red hair typically has fair skin, so
exactly. Yeah. So just picture giant Irish with bad attitudes.
Yeah, no, they have bad attitudes anyway, dude. I mean,
Well, see, so just make them giant. There you
yeah,
go.
right. Yeah, my buddy, my Irish friend Luke. Yeah, I just call him, "Hey, giant, come on over." Yeah, you're not.
Well, don't forget about all the lore and the legends of giants over there too. You know, in
Oh
Ireland,
yeah,
Scotland, Wales, England, they all had lots of stories of giants and stuff.
yeah. Again, and it seems like there's probably a different. I don't know if the word species is even the right word, but throughout different parts of the world, there's probably different subsets of the giants. I remember a lot of people might have seen the fairy tale, the movie though, which is pretty cool actually. It's called Jack the Giant Slayer with and they have where it's actually the Jack and the Beanstalk movie, and he throws the beans, and this big stalk goes way, way up into the heavens, where they come across these humongous giants, right? With the doubles, they have the giants with one head, with a little mini head on their shoulder. Now that's a little far fetched, right? Do you think there was abnormalities like that, um, who knows?
There's a mummy one.
Mm.
There is a mummy from South America where they had actually captured the giant, and then he died, and they mummified him, and they had his body in a case, and they're shipping it all over the world for a couple of 100 years now, and it still exists. This is a two-headed Patagonian mummy, 13 feet tall.
Wow.
So
And
yeah, that's called an Etten. Two-headed giants in Etten.
it's
Yeah,
called,
they exist.
see, you learn something new every day. Duke is quite the encyclopedia. You have so much knowledge on all these subjects. And by the way, I have Duke's channel. If not yet subscribed, World Bigfoot Central's pinned in the description of the show. So go check out Duke. Does a great show as always. And everyone's digging this show. And you did take the time to send me some photos of some of the work you've done, and we might have a couple giant tracks even involved in this. So I'm a since we got quite a bit of them, I'm gonna pull them up, and you can maybe talk a little bit about them. If you
Yeah, you
would
got
like.
the giant tracks handy. We'll show
I
those
got them
first.
handy. Yeah, I do. I'm gonna pull over to this, I believe. Oh, here's the first one. There, I kind of sequenced them a little bit, but here we'll go with this one first.
That is a 31-inch track, and this is looking downhill. I'm throwing the tape measure on it. And yeah, it's too big to be a Bigfoot track. It's too thin to be a Bigfoot track. And the problem with the outline on it is it was not really clear where the toes were because we had a torrential downpour the night before. And so the toe impressions were all washed out. So I couldn't tell exactly how long it was, or more importantly, from my perspective, how many toes did it have? Could not be certain. So that was as much as we could see of it. This is in a 140-year-old gravel road bed in the ghost town, and the subject stepped on one side of the road. His heel came down pretty much right on the edge of the road, and his foot landed on the road, and there was no other footprint. He stepped completely across it into the woods again. And it was a couple inches, 2-3 inches deep in this 140-year-old heavily compacted gravel road bed. And
Well, I can definitely see the depth of that, and it looks very hard back by the heel area, especially.
yeah, and this is at no time does this road bed get squishy. It doesn't matter how much it's been raining. So he was very, very heavy, and even estimating from minimum 31 inch puts him at about 16 and a half feet.
That's huge.
So yeah, we got the shot from the other side too. As Johnny was walking up, he got a shot of that one.
Okay. Well, here's another one you sent me. Now I'm going to show this picture first because when you sent me this one, I recognized it. I recognized it. Maybe the people in chat might not, but I got the follow up to this. And this one here, there's your shadow.
There you go. That's the downhill side of the 31-inch track. And unfortunately, Johnny's shadow was right on the upper part of it where the toes are, so you can't see it. Great job filming that, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I said, "What the hell is he sending me here?" And then, but I studied it before I pulled up the next one. You kind of did the outline on,
yeah.
But I can actually now looking back at this, I do kind of see upper left. I do see a toe like by the guy's shoulder, Johnny's shoulder.
Yep.
And
I'm
then
thinking that's the little toe, and the big toe is further down. I think
okay.
it's a left footprint. But like I said, it's so washed out, you can't tell exactly where the toes end on it.
Yeah. And so what you did a little enhancement with the little outline here kind of brings it together a little bit.
Yeah, but that's way too colossally big to, so
Yeah, I got you.
either it was a Janosko or it was a giant, one or the other. And we know it wasn't a troll because guess what? About 10 feet away from that, we found a mountain troll track. Same individual we found up there once before. 4 toes, about 22 inches long.
Jesus. And then we're gonna shoot over to Coloma.
And that's where this is at, too. These are all from Coloma. There's Big Toes track. He's the alpha up there. He was going up an embankment and stepped on it. That's my hand in it.
Yeah, and I can see that impression is pretty deep in that earth. I mean, that's how deep is that? An inch?
Oh God, no! This is like 3-4 inches deep. He's going up an embankment. If you look up above to where the toe marks are,
Okay.
beneath every toe you can see a ridge of dirt from where his toe dug in and left a ridge behind it.
Okay. And you have this outlined for everybody because I noticed that, but then for those in the chat, yeah, it brings it all together, doesn't it?
Yeah, we call him Big Toe. Big Toe's foot's 22 inches long and it's a foot wide at the front. The front of his foot's as wide as my foot is long.
Oh,
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He's about 12 feet tall.
Can you imagine if you actually came across and seen one of these things?
We found another one of his tracks yesterday. And yesterday was the 14th. And the 14th is the 2-year anniversary of when we found those mountain giant tracks that we just showed.
Oh, wow, really?
Yep. 2 years to the day yesterday. And we were up there in the same spot and we found another track from Big Toe and from his couple of his kids. One of them left 2 17 or 16-inch tracks and another one of the little ones left some 12-inch tracks.
You had made mention a little bit earlier in the show about some of these giants, today's giant, I guess we would call it, right? That actually had mated with human women, right? Of our species. I don't even know how that would be possible. Those women ever survive that you know from history, or is that just speculation or something you know that has occurred?
Yeah, I don't know for sure what's going on there. I suspect that if they're mating with human women, they're doing it when they're younger giants and littler.
Okay.
With anything Titan size isn't going to be able to mate with a human.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I just find it very interesting that with this subject because, yeah, everybody's into Bigfoot, this, that, and the other, but I find this really fascinating that things like this, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view, are roaming, around. And when I saw my Bigfoot, oh my gosh, it was, I couldn't process it. But I can only imagine coming across one of these things. And let me ask you, if I did, or you or anybody else, we probably wouldn't be able to tell the story, would we?
If it saw you, probably not.
Well, they would off us, right?
Oh, well, kind of the problem with the giants. They're notoriously into the idea of eating people. And then the Janosko are not far behind them. There's some of them that are have decided that eating humans is a bad idea and we shouldn't do that, but some of them still do. So it's better to not take chances.
And of course, there's Donnie Cho. Hi, Donnie. I got love Donnie. Maybe the Netflix are really small. You know what? Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Donnie.
It's possible.
It could be. Hey,
they might be Asian,
but that they might. Excuse me on that one, Donnie. Thanks, Donnie. Glad to see you're working hard today. Thanks for coming in. Thanks to everybody for coming on in. Hit that like button, leave a comment. I appreciate it. We're gonna move on. I mean, we could talk all day about mountain giants, but you did take the time. Hi, Midnight Smoker, and everybody else that came on in. You did take some time to send me some other things, and I like to get through these because 90 minutes goes by in a hurry, and I'm going to move on with a few other things that we can talk about here. which were I think Duke, if I recall, these were on some of your most recent. They're not really giant related, I don't believe, but they're really cool anyways. I'm just gonna pull this one up here that you did, and I believe this was just recently, right?
Oh, that's the Super X. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what made this. We're leaning heavily toward the local Sasquatch because we don't have any evidence anything else made it. But that X structure is 60 feet high. The middle of it's 30 feet high.
Yeah,
Don't believe me? I'm standing right under the bottom of it. Can you see me?
I see you.
That's how we scaled it. I'll stand right under the middle bottom of it. I'm 6 feet tall, and we can scale it. Yep.
And I've got to tell you, when it comes to structures, sure, you first of all, everybody, when you go check out Duke's channel, if not already, I know a lot of you have already subscribed and know what I'm talking about, but you come across colossal structures for the most part. And I don't even know how a 12-foot Bigfoot could even construct this. There's got to be several of them. I mean, to me anyway, if that's 60 foot tall, a 10-foot Bigfoot can't do that by himself, can he?
Yeah, good question. If you see the video that we shot of that, where we show where all of them are leaning together, how they're not really connected. I mean, you're looking at it going, well, how is this standing up even? This never could have happened naturally, and it looks like it should fall down. And they're leaning against a tree that's got a fork at the top of it. But nothing is going through the fork at the top of the tree. It's all leaning against it. Yeah, and then they've got another one that's leaning against the bottom of it at an angle. And if you look at that carefully, the butt end of it that came out of the ground is the high part.
Okay, was that in that picture, Duke?
Yeah. See in the background above my head there? That's another tree that's laying against it. And the butt end of it is on the far left-hand side of the picture. The upper end of it's on the, yeah.
Okay.
This thing is like so impossible. It could not have happened naturally. The trees that are there in position did not come from there. They were put there. The one on the right was, I should correct that. The one on the right actually looked like it might have been pushed over. The one on the left and the one leaning against him at the bottom were not from there. And there's actually two of them in the back there. You can't really see it very well. It's not just one. But there's two of them on the left-hand side that are coming up. And that also was moved into position. And I asked local loggers about this. What does a lodgepole pine that size weigh? And all three of them gave me about the same estimate of 3 tons. So you decide whatever can move 3 tons around and fiddle around with it and lean it up like that. And then we had another ridiculously giant teepee that we found down the ridge from there, only maybe a quarter mile away from it, not even that. That's about 5 stories tall. And there it is. And that started out being an X structure. And they deconstructed the big X structure that we just showed you. It's still there. It's just lying side by side in pieces now. Again, impossible. And then at the time, they had an X structure down here. So after they deconstructed the big X structure, Mike came down here and I sent him over. Hey, go check that out and see if that's still there. And then he'd go, Duke, you need to look at this. And I came over to the top of the ridgeline, looked down, and I went, what the hell? Yeah, so they turned the X structure into this giant teepee. And go back to that picture.
Okay.
If you look at the on the right-hand side of the picture, there's a tree that's bending over the top of one of those other trees.
Okay.
This is like the 3rd or 4th time that we were at this thing and took pictures of it. And every time we were there, they were adding stuff onto it. And this time, the one that I just pointed out, that's a live pine tree. The previous time we were there, it was standing straight up. And now we come back and it's bent underneath everything else that it's adjacent to.
Yeah. Well, since we're on the subject, we're talking little giants today, mixing in some Bigfoot and all the things you've been exploring. Everybody assumes, you see a giant X structure or what have you that, okay, well, Bigfoot, this, that, and the other. Do you think that perhaps it's something other than Bigfoot? Maybe it is a giant? I mean, just because of the enormity. I mean, we just don't know, do we?
No, I mean, we really don't. Anything that big, and that's outsize. Usually you do not find structures that size. I only tend to find them up in this one area. And because the area is like crawling with Bigfoot and you can find tracks all over the damn place, I tend to lean heavily toward the Bigfoot there are making it because I don't have any reason to believe anything else is doing it. But when you look at the size of some of this stuff, you have to come to the conclusion that some of the Bigfoot living in that area are absolutely jumbo, gigantic, enormous compared to what, you know, your average Bigfoot sighted is. And I guess that through the Rockies and up into Alaska, they do tend to be bigger. So I guess it would make sense from that standpoint. But just the idea of, you know, well, Glag is 14 and a half feet tall. He's from over in Idaho. And from what I've been able to figure out, it sounds like the ones here get to the same size or even bigger. So, you know, if you're looking at a Sasquatch that's 15 feet tall, yeah, he can pick up a 3-ton tree and move it.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. And, you know, for everybody, Duke just mentioned Glag. You got to go check out the Glag saga on his World Bigfoot Central channel, which is one of the most fascinating, really, sagas when it comes to Bigfoot. And that, as you said, he was 12, 15 foot tall, right? Glag?
Actually, when Kevin met him again, we were at, again, the same ghost town I was just at yesterday for the anniversary of finding the giant track. And that's where Glag met up with him again, the ghost town. And yeah, Kevin said Glag was about what did he say? 2 of him plus a couple feet. So he was guesstimating 14 and a half feet. He was leaving it 26-inch track.
Do you think some of these Bigfoot or giants, since we're kind of talking little giants as well, you think that the sizable ones like in Montana, they're bigger because of the expanse of your territory, not built up, it's in the mountains, so there's less, I mean, they're less visibly seen unless you're a researcher like yourself and you go out for the last several decades looking. But do you think with it depends on your area, your geographic location onto the size?
Well, you can get big ones just about anywhere, but it's like more rare to have them in some of the
like Flatlander
areas. Yeah, right, Michigan and Ohio. You know, you've got 10-foot Bigfoot running around there. But do you have any 14, 15 footers? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
out here it's easy for them to hide. You know, just in Montana, we've got 24 million acres of forest and 52 mountain ranges. And people don't live in mountain ranges. That's not allowed. We got to live in the flatlands in between. Mountain ranges are all national forest, state forest, national parks, nature preserves, blah, blah, blah. And if you go look at a map of the Rockies going through Montana, you'll observe something peculiar. All of these areas connect up.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Tom Coburn over in Germany, Trails in the Woods. Definitely check out his channel.
Yes.
And he noticed the same thing. The way they've got the forests that they preserve there laid out. If you check out the map and just look at it carefully, there's travel corridors. Things can pretty much go right from one giant forest to the other. There's a way to get from one to the other with little difficulty, the way things are set up over there. And they have ancient forests. The Black Forest, that's never been cut down. That thing's, you know, thousands of years old.
So what do you mean by it's easier for them to travel the way it's set up?
There's no roads and cities and stuff in between. They go right from one giant park to another one. There's a line on the map to us, and there's nothing there to tell them that there's no connection.
Ah, okay. Very interesting.
Like we have the Beaverhead and what's the other one? Deer Lodge, a couple of weird giant forests. And if you look at it on the map, they're right next to each other. Well, it's essentially all the same giant forest. They arbitrarily drew a line through it and called it two different things.
Okay. Okay.
We also we're wondering about mobility here. When we're up in the ghost town yesterday, standing on the top of the mountain, you can see across the nearby valleys, and you can see 3 mountain ranges away. That's 40 miles. And in between the mountain range that you're looking at, which is the Mission Mountains, and the ones that you're standing in, there's one road.
Just one road.
One. That's
Okay.
the one you came in on.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
people that haven't been here have no idea how gigantically, ridiculously huge the open areas in the West are. And a lot of these areas, people have not walked through them. They've been surveyed by air. Some of these areas were taboo. The natives didn't even go into them. There's mountains in Montana that don't have names. They have numerical designations. No one's been to them.
No, come on. Jeez. I got to pull up a topography on this or go on Google Earth to really check this out. Do people you say they don't live in the flat areas? What about the foothills? Are there communities at the foothills of the mountains?
Oh yeah, you can build up in any of the valleys, or you can build up along the edge of the mountains and stuff like that. But then after that, everything's already been claimed by the state and federal as national parks and forests and stuff. So you can't buy the land, you can't live on it.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, a lot of people that did originally live there, as soon as they died, their ownership of the land ceased to exist, and it became part of the park again. So there were formerly a lot more people living in the mountains than there are now.
Okay. Let's see here. Here is another.
So yeah, it's not like, oh, we're moving into the mountains and populating them and taking away from the Bigfoot. No, it's like we're getting kicked out of the mountains. We can't live there anymore. We can go visit if there happens to be a road. Other than that, forget it.
And if you're going to live in the mountains, I mean, you're miles upon. I imagine in Montana, your average Walmart's probably a 5-hour ride, right? It's not like every time.
Yeah, we've got good sized towns that are no more than 2 hours away from each other, so you don't have to do 5 hours. But to give you an example of what this is like, again, getting back to the ghost town, there's a house that's actually very near to it, right before it becomes state land. There's some private property, and this guy built a house up there, and it's completely self-sustained. He's got solar, he's got his everything set up, so he's completely off grid. Doesn't need access except for supplies occasionally. And he's been trying to sell this house for years, and no one will buy it. Because first of all, the banks won't finance it, because if you're off grid, they won't finance you, period. And secondly, that house is inaccessible for half the year, more than half the year, because the road that goes up to that ghost town is a seasonal road, and it's closed in the winter. So if you want to live in that house, you have to have a snowmobile 7 miles down to where the gate is, have your truck parked there, and then drive your truck into town from there. And that's your winter.
Well, that's not my winter, but that is, yeah.
I actually have one of my research assistants wanted to buy that house. When he found out the banks wouldn't finance it, he couldn't afford it himself, but he wanted it.
Yeah. Let me check this out. We have so you saw the first teepee, and you got another teepee. This is the same area, I imagine.
That's the same teepee. That's from the top of the hill looking down on it.
Okay. All right.
We got another shot from the other side of it, I'm pretty sure. So you can see all different sides of it.
Okay. I think it must be.
Sorry for the interruption. Danielle Diva is sending me text messages for.
Oh, okay.
Which I told her I was going to be on your show, so it's not my fault.
Very good. Nah, it's all right. And then this is another angle of that.
Yep, that's the other side of it. Yep. That's about 50 feet up to where they all start intersecting at the top there.
I just can't imagine these expansive, how big these structures are.
Oh, it's terrifying. You get underneath them, and it's like you're standing under a skyscraper. It's a 5 or 6 story building, and you're like, "What the hell is making these things? I don't think I should be here."
No, I mean, I'd have my head would be on a swivel, looking for the creator of these structures, right? Of course, you'd like to see it, but if you did, I don't know.
Well, we've gone up and surveyed these things over and over enough times that we started noticing them photobombing us in the background. So, yeah, we've found the creators of the structures. Yeah. They appear photobombing us in the background while we're up there the next time filming them. My favorite one is where I had walked up to, we were going to film the giant X structure had been taken down, but we had been up there filming and we had caught a couple prospective tree peekers looking at us. So I had to go up to the same exact spot again, tromp out in the middle of nowhere, try and find this one little 3 by 3 foot area of ground and stand in it and film a comparison shot to see if any of the what looked like tree peekers were there. Spoiler, they weren't. But as I was getting into position, I was walking up filming. There's like these trees have fallen together and kind of make a V shape.
Yeah.
So I remember I was standing up by the point of the V when I was filming. So I'm walking back up there. And as I'm walking up there, I'm just filming randomly. And I turn around and I start filming the comparison shot. And when I went back and looked at the part where I'm walking up there and I'm filming, there's 1, 2, 3 Bigfoot in the background. There's 2 of them in the tree right in front of me. There's a couple of pine trees that are standing there looking at me. And there's right where the tree piles fall together and make this V shape. There's one of them sitting right in there, like 15 feet in front of me, if that, watching me. And as I bring the camera across him, his head turns and watches me. So it's not pareidolia. Kelly Shaw showed that one on Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. And so, yeah, we've caught the guys that make this stuff.
And they know who you are.
Well, apparently.
And, well,
I give them peanut butter.
Dude, okay.
And the guy that gives them peanut butter, I get special privileges to walk up and film structures.
Well, make sure you always have to have peanut butter on you. But let me ask you this, because this always gets asked, and I don't really ask this anymore, but I'll ask you, what do you think, especially with these huge, I mean, if you're walking in the woods and you see an 8-foot X structure or 6-foot, you could brush it off as whatever, but what you've shown have definitely been made by something not human, not us anyways. So
the other thing is you can really discount humans on this one, because the only way humans could make this with a block and tackle or heavy equipment. And there's not even a deer trail to these things, much less a road you could get a vehicle in on.
Yeah, no, not at all. That's what I'm saying. It's in the middle of nowhere. And first of all, humans not going to do that. That'd be one hell of an elaborate hoax, and you're not
that no one would ever find.
No one would ever find. You just wasted. You probably just a waste of time. But my thing is, though, what's the purpose? Why do you think these things are even made? I mean, you get territorial markers or navigation compasses. I don't know. What's your thoughts on these?
Yeah, good question. Well, some of the stuff that they make, we have a pretty good idea what it means, because they replicate it all over the place. It doesn't matter where you're at. They're making structures. They're all kind of the same. They've got fence structures. They got teepee structures. They got asterisks. They have, all different kinds of things that they will routinely make, little brush structures for observations or for nabbing game passing by them, for hunting blinds, that kind of stuff. But as far as the colossal size, I mean, just building materials, I lean toward with some of the structures, they mean something to the other Bigfoot that may encounter them. And we tend to think that, like with an X structure, it's a territorial marker. It's like when a bear claws a tree.
Yeah.
Reaches up as high as it can to claw the tree to show how big and tall it is, and then digs into the tree as much as it can to show the other bears how dangerous it is. Don't go in my territory. This is where I live. Well, they're doing kind of the same thing. They put up a big X structure. This is my territory. This is where I live. Don't come in here. The bigger the X structure indicates the bigger the alpha male that's running it. So if the alpha male can pick up a 3-ton tree and move it around, you don't want to go in there and piss him off.
Yeah. What they're doing is they're showing their power, their strength, right? Like, you don't want to get out of my area, because it's an intimidating factor.
That's it. It's like somebody is in charge of this territory, and I'm so big that I made this X structure.
Yeah. You gonna venture over here?
Okay, you got to take your chances, boy.
Yeah. I'm gonna whip your, what?
Yeah, exactly.
You did mention something which about I'm kind of going a little bit out of. Well, I'm not going to go out of alignment. Well, yeah, I will. You mentioned it.
Well, we still got a couple more pictures to show there. We've got that asterisk structure.
No,
too,
we do. That's what I was about to do. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to show those right away, but I'm going to.
This is really cool too, because he's also had the guy that's actually modeling for me for scale on his show before, William Lunsford, the Falk Monster Hunter.
William Lunsford, who will be at our conference on September 19th and 20th.
And there's William seeing the asterisk structure going, holy.
But look at that, though. And William's a big guy as well, and he's closer. That's just, it's precisely put together. Now you see other fallen timber around it. I don't know if they were pulled out of the ground or what the deal is there, but that is
most of that stuff was moved around. They had a whole complex of structures there, and the asterisk was kind of in the middle of it as you went up the hill. They had a giant black X structure at the bottom of it, and they had a giant white X structure at the top of it.
Oh, geez, oh, Pete, really?
Yeah.
What's the diameter on those we're just looking at here around the base?
Foot and a half.
Foot and a half. Okay. So that's good old Will.
The bigger ones.
Yeah. And here's
and Will has 2 bad knees, so that poor guy was having a hell of a time trying to hike through some of this crap to get up there to look at it. This is close to camp, though. You just go about 100 yards up the river and then cross the river, and boom, there it is.
And again, a bunch of humans messing with that.
Oh, hell no. There's no road or anything. That's the other side of the river. This is where it all comes together at the top.
Yeah. That is actually cool looking.
Yeah, it doesn't look natural, huh?
No, it certainly doesn't. It even looks like it's brought over from somewhere else compared to the other trees in the back.
Some of those trees were moved into place. You know, they were drag-ins, so they weren't actually from there and pushed over.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
And again, you got something that's, colossally strong to be moving some of these full-size trees around and using them for tinker toys.
Yeah, and back to Will again.
There's another picture. If you look in the upper left there, that's Mike. Mike weighs 350 pounds.
Oh, yeah, he's a peanut, yeah.
Yeah, he's coming down the hill as William's going up the hill, and they're both heading for the asterisk.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
That's also now taken down. They dropped a huge pine tree right on the middle of it and squished it.
So, yeah, I was going to ask you that, too, and you just brought it up. I heard, and you kind of confirmed that a little bit, that they also, a lot of these structures that are put up are taken down and moved, right?
Yep. Sometimes we found that there was an area here on the mountain right behind me where they had an area that they were keeping the kids busy while they were doing whatever. And you could tell because they were making all typical Bigfoot structures, but they're all little, itty bitty twig structures. And every couple of weeks we'd go up there and they would be different. They would take some of the structures apart and they'd make other structures out of the same twigs and sticks. It was just like that was their tinker toys, and they were making things with them. And they'd make these little bitty things that if you weren't a puckwood, you couldn't fit in it. And there's no reason to make it. And nothing was cut. There was no string. There was no nails. And they were using all the same stuff. They just kept rearranging it and making different stuff out of it. So we were up there filming that for a couple of years, keeping track of what they were doing in their little playpen area or whatever it was that they were doing.
We've established, of course, that you have mighty Bigfoot or Sasquatch in Montana. We've also established you've got mountain giants. Now, here's the thing. You always get that same question, and it's always, hey, do Bigfoot and Dogman get along? Do they run in cahoots with each other, whatever? And there's so many different opinions, theories on that we're not going to talk about that. But I'm wondering, though, if any of these Bigfoot came across any of these giants, I'm wondering what the outcome of that is. You think that maybe with some of these crazy phenomena going on, that maybe that they even perhaps mated, or do you think that they just know
well,
about
that's where the
each other?
Janoskua came from, whether forcibly or not. At some point, giants mated with Sasquatch.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, you answered your own question from earlier. Well, how can a really big giant mate with a human? Well, they can't because they're too big, but they can mate with a big female Sasquatch.
Okay.
And maybe she don't particularly like it, but the giant's still bigger and stronger and can force her. And what are the rest of the Sasquatch going to do? Go to war and fight the giant? Yeah, may not happen. So giants don't have a good reputation being friendly and reasonable or getting along with anybody. So I would tend to think that if there was interaction, the Sasquatch would probably avoid them as much as they could.
Okay.
And if there's interaction, it's probably not positive. So
would
the giant's like the bully on the block that lives in a particular mountain range.
Yeah. The giant could probably squash out the big structures we just looked at.
Yeah, or he could beat up the alpha male or something. But
Yeah.
you know, all the Sasquatch have to do is avoid him, and if he's too much of a pain in the ass, they can always gang up on him and dry gulch him and get rid of him.
I got to remember that though. The giants and Sasquatch produced the Genasqua.
That seems to be the case. So that's our best theory right now. And don't forget the Genasqua were at war with the Iroquois Confederation at one point. They were trying to come in and kill all of them and take over their territory. And then the Iroquois managed to actually win and fight them back again. Well, it just happened that they got firearms at that point. That was handy. But they managed to chase them out of their territory again. So, you know, they're not like friendly and shy like Bigfoot are. They're aggressive.
Right.
And huge.
Well, since we've been talking about the different species of all these phenomena out in the forest, the woods, I guess I'll just throw this one at you. Is the what everybody always talks about, it seems that's very popular, is the gugway then. Any relation to any of these creatures?
I personally don't think so.
Okay.
From what I hear, they don't get along with anything. Like, you know, Dogman will get along with some of the Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot will get along with some of the Genasqua. You know, they're neighbors. They put up with each other, whatever. Everybody hates a gugway and wants to kill them.
Amanda must have read my mind. She wants to know. I just asked my question and she posted one. Where do you think they came from?
Gugway. Which ones?
The gugway.
Gugway are, we pretty much figured out exactly what those things are. They're either a direct descendant of or some sort of offshoot, or perhaps even the original prototype of the Dinopithecus, Pleistocene era giant baboons. Okay. Christy Sci-Fi, who's probably in the chat room, actually got a picture of one of them face on. And we have a Dinopithecus skull that the archaeologist or paleontologist recovered. So if you compare the face of the Gugway picture that she got to the giant baboon skull, the Dinopithecus, they match exactly.
Oh, wow.
So it's either a Dinopithecus or it's something very closely related to it.
The good old Dinopithecus.
And from what I hear, the Sasquatch had a war with those things a long, long time ago and almost exterminated them. And they felt sorry for them and let some of them live.
Oh, how nice.
You know, they may not make the same mistake if there's Gugway War too.
So I don't want to get into this all over when you're out in Minnesota. So that's what you think your first experience you thought was with a Gugway, correct?
No, it wasn't a Gugway. It was a Genasqua.
Or Genasqua, I'm sorry. Okay, Genasqua.
Yeah, it was from a youngster Genasqua who was only 9 feet tall at that point.
Oh, yeah, just a little baby.
Yeah, just a cute little baby. Give me a nice grin.
I tell you what, that'd be, yeah. One of the first things you experience in this world is that. I mean, I take Bigfoot.
First cryptid experience, yeah. Then it was 5 years. Yeah, 5 years later, I had a large adult Sasquatch on my yard that I almost walked into. That was a little disturbing too. In the dark, walking down the driveway, and he's sitting in the driveway watching me walking toward him. I'm like, oh, good God.
Yeah, good God. Yeah. Fantastic. That's all I can say about that one, right?
Yeah, no, that totally sucked, man. But that's what prompted me to be a cryptid researcher, because after the first one, I just figured, I'll just stay out of the woods. I'll never go in the woods again. I'll be fine. Now this one showed up in my yard. So it's like, well, no matter where I go, they're going to show up, apparently. I better figure out something about these things.
Yeah, Amanda says I stole her question. I'm sorry, Amanda, but yes. Hey, that's perfect timing because around the 1 o'clock hour. So I got to let the dog out right quick. If you want to entertain the people, then I'll come back. Take me 30 seconds.
All righty. Go take care. Who let the dogs out?
Yeah, there we go.
BMR let the dogs out. Woo, 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 woo. Hey guys, I can't see the chat room right now, or maybe I should see if I can actually. I got comments. Ooh. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I can see the chat room. Gugly are not related to Giganto at all. They're related to baboons. Yeah, I just filmed a, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, a giant Bigfoot statue at the Shields Sporting Goods store yesterday. And he looks like Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot too. Hey, Rags. Yes, we have actually got Giganto DNA and had it sequenced now, so we know that they were from the same order as orangutans. They were essentially just giant orangutans that are extinct. And being that they were around only 50,000 or so years ago, they did not have time to transform the morphology of their foot from what seems to, if you look at a orangutan, their foot looks like a hand. It's got a divergent thumb on it, and being that they're brachiators and they live in trees, they can grab onto a tree branch with their hand, and they can do it with their foot too, because their foot essentially is like a hand. So if you're postulating a giant orangutan walking around, there's no reason to think that it would have a completely different foot than what a regular orangutan had, that it would just be larger. And there's no reason to think that it would have that it would have developed into anything that looked remotely like a human foot, given only 50,000 years. Yeah, evolution, if it happens, doesn't happen that fast. Have I heard of Melba's DNA study? Amanda, she was on my show 3 times.
Yeah, go check out World Bigfoot Central if not already. Amanda, you're probably a subscriber over there. Yeah, you've gone through that quite ad nauseum. And it's funny, really quickly. We're talking about all these structures. I had to let the dog out because he's got a urinary problem, and I would let him out and have him out all day. In fact, it's not even my dogs, my brother's, and he dumped them over here. He had to go do something to watch the dog because you can't let the dog out, obviously. So I got this piece of property next to me, this big dead tree. Speaking of big dead trees. And the reason I don't let the dog out by himself is because a branch did come down and took out my front
crap.
gate.
Oh, whoa.
2 weeks ago. And I'm battling because I'm trying to get the city to pay and take the tree down for one and take care of my fence. So I'm going to have to pay for that, I think, and then sue him, I guess. I don't know.
Well, on the positive side, you get more money in the long run just suing them.
Yeah, I could put it today for a rainy weather.
Down payment on a cabin in the cryptid infested woods.
Yeah, right in Montana, right at the foothills.
That's what you need. Cabin in Montana.
Cabin in Montana.
Look, really even quick. Zappa tried to get people to come up here and sacrifice himself to the mountain giant so we didn't have to get eaten. You ever hear that song by Frank Zappa, Moving to Montana?
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of, in fact, since I've been involved with this for a few years now, I noticed a lot of the songs I pick up, they have a lot of references to a lot of the cryptids. They really do, and UFOs and all that. And of course, Led Zeppelin, if you listen to some of the words, man, they talk about paranormal, crazy, spooky stuff. You listen to some of those lyrics or read them. They're out there. Hey, really quickly, thanks to Josh Castro for his super chat. And also 5 new pirates. Mateys are. Thanks to Mr. Castro, a continual supporter of the show. Thank you for that, my friend. And so let me get rid of that. But anyways,
so hey, any of you that missed my last show,
go ahead.
You really should go check it out, because I did something completely atypical for my channel, and I became a troll channel and attacked some trolls. And you should go check it out, because these guys weren't even Bigfoot researchers. They stole actual Bigfoot vocalizations, and then they pretended that they were recording them and put it out on their channel. One got like 300,000 views on this bullshit.
Oh, I know you told me that. 300,000 views. And we bust our butts, to get 3,000 views.
Yeah, this guy steals other people's stuff and then reacts to it. Oh my God, can you guys hear that? Yeah, I can. It's a stolen recording from Sasquatch Bioacoustics, you freaking hoaxer.
And of course, that's another 2-hour show just talking about all that BS that goes on for people just trying to make a quick dollar, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And we're trying to do actual
Yeah.
public service / research here and get real information out to the people, and you got clowns like that diluting the waters. I mean, hoaxers are bad enough, but stealing actually legitimate evidence and claiming you got it,
Yeah.
you're a thief and a hoaxer.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm behind that one for sure, calling those people out, especially when you got the proof literally right at your fingertips.
In excruciating detail, I went and played their recordings, and I actually found the exact spots on the original recording they had stolen and played them all in the same order. So there could be no doubt whatsoever.
What a bunch of idiots, man.
Like, oh, no Bigfoot researcher will ever figure out that we stole these ones from Sasquatch Bioacoustics. Yeah, you're dumber than we are.
Okay, I will, Rags. Yeah, no doubt. Hey, this happened to me last year. Do you know some idiot? They're no longer on YouTube. Actually, downloaded one of my shows and streamed the entire show on his YouTube channel. The entire thing.
The new BMR repeat channel.
Yeah, the repeat. And the guy goes, "This is my buddy." I don't even know who this person was, man. This is like a year and a half ago. And I should have got it flagged in the copyright strikes. You know how we get those sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get any, but
I never get them either. I just issue them.
Yeah, right. Oh, that was issued all right. But so
well, I got to give them some credit. At least they stole real Bigfoot calls to do their hoax with, and they didn't try and use hoax ones.
Well, let me ask you too, because I know a lot of people. It's how hard this is as a researcher, as someone that does what I do. We get emails from people. People want to talk, come on the shows, this, that, and the other. And you find it now. I know that there are software programs out there to debunk a lot of these things, but do you think it just makes it so much more difficult for legitimate people to share things, or maybe a person like sitting in the chat room looks at a picture of a Bigfoot on the internet? With this AI, what do you think the effects of AI does for this thing that we all do?
Well, I know like MK Davis is really concerned about it because he thinks it's going to make things impossible. But I like to point out to him that technology defeats itself. There's already programs out there you can run an image through, and they'll tell you if it's been photoshopped or AI generated. So you can debunk that stuff instantly. It's easier to debunk than somebody in a costume. So to me, it's inconsequential. Okay. And the other thing is people always say, well, look at look at all the crappy Bigfoot pictures and stuff out there. Nobody can get a decent Bigfoot picture. This one's nice and clear. This one must be real. No, the nice clear one is a guy in a suit. The crappy blurry ones are actual Bigfoot pictures because Bigfoot is actually blurry. They can distort the light and bend it around them. So you're not going to get a clear picture of one. As a matter of fact, if you want to know just at a glance, is this Bigfoot picture real or not? Well, if it's blurry, it's probably real.
Yeah. Well, no, right. We hate that term, the blob squatch, but half the times that's probably a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
unless you get one right out in the sun walking along a sandbar, like Patty.
I was about to say, Patty, why not distort it? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, she's right out in the sun, walking along the sandbar. That's what they try to never do because it makes it too easy for us. Like the ones that are following me around and stuff, they'll always stay in the shade. They'll always be mostly concealed. They might stick part of their head around a tree. They might stick their head up over a log. That's as much as you're ever going to see. They're not going to go strolling out in the open. Patty got caught off guard and had to beat it to get away from these guys. And the reason she didn't move sooner is because there weren't any humans up there. These guys were on horses, and they were coming around a big pile of debris that had been washed down in the river. She couldn't see them. She couldn't smell them because the wind was going toward them, away from her. So when she heard the horses coming, she probably thought they were elk. And then all of a sudden, two horses of guys come around the corner. She's like, "Oh shit!
Yeah,
those aren't elk."
I'm glad. You kind of. I was going to ask you a question, then you just kind of gave me an answer prior to the question. We must be having mind speak or something here, but I was going to ask you because I was always thinking, Patty is it's just such a great shot. It's great footage. It's like, wow, how did this even happen? But I was always led to believe by somebody that she was really concerned with her family for whatever the reason was, Duke. Then we heard the story about she had her family, allegedly, her kids, her offspring, were skinned and hung in the forest, and she was just was focused on that as to why she got caught. That image was captured, which I don't think that's true, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know myself. I haven't seen any evidence for that. I know there was some hokey pokey going on around in there, and some sources claim there was actually a Canadian kill team there that were working for the logging company, getting rid of annoying Bigfoot shortly before Roger and Bob showed up there. But it's like, well, good luck trying to prove that.
Yeah.
Probably happened, but good luck trying to prove it.
Well, it's always the proof, right? Good
Proof's
luck.
in the pudding. Well, as MK Davis and Blaine Tyler pointed out, she wasn't the only one in that video. And when she's walking away back toward the tree line on the last shot that Roger gets of her, Blaine and MK have both pointed out there's huge Bigfoot back there.
Okay.
And they're like waiting for these dumb cowboys to try and chase her. They're in positions along her line of travel where if you're following her, they're right next to you and they're going to jump out and annihilate you.
Okay.
And one of the two of them moves. There was an additional really big female up on the hillside too. Blaine spotted her. So there's several of them there. If they would have followed Patty, bad things would have happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, that just goes to tell you as well. It's like, yeah, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they're not going to, unless you're just like a rogue or one that's maybe got a little insanity going on in his head, got kicked out of his clan or whatever you want to call it. Typically, though, the only time they'll really show aggression towards you or perhaps harm you is if you attempt to harm one of them. If they sense you're going to shoot one, because where there's one, there's another watching, right? I mean, it's got to be.
It's really rare that there's just one out by itself, unless they already kind of know who you are and they just got a sentinel keeping an eye on you. Yeah. That'd be about it. But there's always a group of them around. So yeah, if you're messing with one, there's going to be more of them that are going to be there that can potentially deal with you if you do something too stupid. But as they're extremely peaceful. They're not at all hostile and aggressive for the most part. There can be exceptions to that. If you see if there's actually a lone Bigfoot wandering around,
okay,
he's probably one of the bad ones. He got kicked out of his group. He doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't play nice. Right. He might not care if he grabs you by the ankles and beats you against the tree like a baseball bat, because he doesn't have an alpha male that'll stomp him if he does it.
Yeah, it's kind of, I reflect back, not to talk about my experience. I think that maybe mine was kicked out of the clan.
That could be. It could be that he wasn't really part of a group. It was just like him and his mate and however many kids he made, and that was it. He had his little area and stay the hell out.
Yeah, perhaps. So you're talking about, really quickly, we can touch on this. It'll be a good way to kind of edge away towards the end of the show here. When you're talking about Coloma, now that's also a ghost town, right? And there's paranormal activity around here.
Oh yeah, as I was pointing out to my buddy Vinny when we were driving up there yesterday, that you can expect that a lot of these ghost towns are basically mining towns, which this was. And when the mine plays out and they run out of enough, precious mineral, whatever it is they're mining, it's not worth mining anymore. They just kind of abandon it because there's no reason to live there on top of a frozen mountain, right? It's even cold up there in the summer. Nobody wants to live up there unless you got gold in the ground, and that's what it was. It was a gold mine. Gold, most of the time, the gold deposits also have quartz. Quartz attract Bigfoot. So any place where there's big quartz deposits, whether there's a gold mine there or not, they attract Bigfoot. So, of course, Bigfoot are up in this area, and you got a gold mine there. Now, the interesting thing about this ghost town, other than it's really creepy, and, well, there's just several other things, but how many ghost towns do you know that have been abandoned twice?
Well, usually for me, once they're abandoned, right?
Yeah, they usually don't like bring people back in,
Yeah.
start up the mine,
Hey,
try it for a few more years, then decide to abandon again.
yeah,
What exactly is going on here?
yeah. Let's repopulate this abandoned ghost town for the last century.
Yeah, it wasn't that far apart. It
Okay.
was like they abandoned it, and like less than a decade later, they came back and tried to open the mine again for like 3 or 4 years, and then they abandoned it again. Was it like you had bad neighbors there that didn't want you guys living there or something?
Right.
Starting to wonder.
Right. Come on, man. Hey, so we're talking about the ghost towns and the paranormal. We're talking about Bigfoot. Do you think though that some of these there's manifest now we know that Bigfoot exists, obviously. Here's the thing though, do you think that sometimes some of these paranormal entities that float around these ghost towns are like the tricksters we hear about in the paranormal that just take the shape of whatever just to appease what you want to see? Do you think that goes on?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it at all. That place is absolutely haunted and has paranormal stuff going on. We had Brent Thomas up there twice with his paranormal teams, different guys both time, MCAT, and I can't think right offhand what the other guy, what his name was, but yeah, they had all their ghost gear and stuff up there. They were just freaking out at how active the place was. Even during the day, you could talk to the ghost. Middle of the day, you know. No, seriously, they're set up on the tailgate of their truck, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, bright sunny day. They got the ghost box. They're asking the ghost questions and answers, and they're getting reply. And they're like, "Oh my god, I've never seen a place this haunted." It might have been the Bigfoot screwing with them, because Brent was actually filming with his camera as they're doing this. You can hear it in the background.
Yeah.
And he's just doing a pan. He's like, "Here's the ghost town of Coloma," and there's this big ridge of debris up there that they had dug out of the mine. And on top of it, there's this black object that ducks down and he brings a camera across it. So then I had to go up there twice with two of my friends and try and recreate that shot and see how big the object was. It was sitting up on top of that pile of debris. Well, there was actually a gully on the top of the pile of debris behind these two trees, and the object was standing in that. And when he brought the camera across, he ducked down a little bit. Well, a human standing in that gully, his head don't even stick over that berm.
Okay.
And the human that I had standing in the right position where you could see his head actually was about a third as wide as the object that ducked down when Brent brought the camera across it. So were they actually talking to ghosts, or were the Bigfoot screwing with them, making the voices appear on the ghost box?
There you go. Yeah. It's just amazing. And Coloma.
Well, Robin says she busted one of her Bigfoot doing that.
Oh, no.
They got an abandoned house out in the woods behind where she lives, and some locals showed up and said, "Hey, we're going to go stake that place out and see if it's haunted." And, she's a psychic. She's already done the scan on it. There's nothing there. It's not haunted. Yeah. But she said, well, knock yourselves out. Have fun. She isn't worried about it because there's no ghost there. They can't get hurt, right? So they come back the next day and they're like, "Oh, we had our ghost box going. We were talking to spirits and everything. It was totally awesome." And she's like immediately suspicious. And starts mind speaking to her Bigfoot. "Were you guys over there screwing with him last night?" Nope. Except for one wouldn't answer her.
Yeah.
And finally, 2 days later, he did. And he admitted that, yes, he was the one that was over there screwing with him. And she said, "Why did you make voices appear on the box?" And he said, "Because they wanted voices to appear on the box."
Well, I will tell you this about Robin. She's legit straight up because, I told my Bigfoot encounter ad nauseum. People, and I always tell it the same way. It's always the same because it's the same. It's mine. It's embedded in my head. I had Robin on a couple years ago. She was on, and we were doing a thing on MindSpeak, right? And then she says to me, I don't know if you were in chat or not, Duke, or whatever, but she says to me, "Hey, Rob, Denali meant you no harm, right?" I'm like, "Who the hell is Denali? Is it you were talking about the GMC truck? We talking about Alaska?" Yeah, out of the blue. She goes, "No, he meant you no harm. He's been trying to get in touch with you, but you're blocking him out." And she was allegedly, right, having mind speak with this creature, with this guy I saw. But you know what 100% made me believe what she's talking about? Because I never mentioned the red barn. There's a red barn in my encounter, but I paid it no mind. It was there, not a part of the story at all. And he tells her, and I've never said this ever in my life, until when I retell Robin's story on my show. Yeah, Rob, he came from around the Red Barn. He got
Oh,
the
God.
edge. God, and in the show, man, if I didn't have two arms on my left and right, I'd have fell out of my chair. Because I never said that. So yeah, Robin is the real deal.
Yes,
And it
indeed.
frazzled me for the whole show after that.
I got to tell you a quick story
Yeah.
with Robin, and this also features a celebrity guest star in this anecdote, which would be Keith Crabtree, the guy that wore the costume in The Legend of Boggy Creek.
I met him.
So he's up here in Montana camping with me, and we're going up to Area A, and there is no cell phone service up there. You got to drive 10 miles to get one bar. So as we're going up there, I let Robin know, hey, we're on our way up there. Let the guys know we're going to be up there soon. And she goes, okay, I'll check in with them so they can tell me when you get there. Okay. So we get up there and it's dark. We get there right at dark and there's a burning ban on. We can't have a campfire.
Yeah.
So me and Keith are huddled around our miserable non-campfire. And we got some like half a moon. The sky's clear, so you got some starlight. So you can see through the trees and stuff. It's not completely pitch black.
Yeah.
And right next to our campsite, there's a river. And on the other side of the river, there's some boulders and trees and a gigantic black shadow. And I'm facing away from the river. Keith is facing toward it. And he starts going, Duke, is there a big shadow over there? I keep seeing something move. And I'm like, what are you seeing? So I walk over to where he is and I'm looking. And I'm like, yeah, that is a huge black shadow. And he goes, is that there usually? And I'm like, I don't really remember. I don't think so. But just keep track of where you're at right now. And tomorrow morning, come and sit here and look over there and see if there's anything that could make that shadow.
Yeah.
If it can't make a shadow during the day, it couldn't do it at night, right? So as I'm sitting there talking to him for the next 25, 30 minutes, a couple more times he goes, Duke, I could swear that shadow's moving. And I'm like, well, just keep an eye on it. That shadow's huge. And I'm like, okay. So finally, the next day we drove down the pass so I could get a signal and call Robin. And I said, hey, I thought I'd let you know that we were up here. And she goes, oh, I know. He told me last night. And I'm like, what? She goes, oh, yeah, the one I asked to let me know when you guys were going to show up, he was sitting right across the river watching you guys.
Oh, man.
And I'm sitting there going, holy crap. And I said, so this is the one you asked to let you know when we were going to show up. So he just sat across the river and waited until we showed up. She goes, yeah. And I go, what did he say when he contacted you? He said, hey, Duke's here. And she goes, you got anybody else with him? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, who? And he said, I don't know who he is. And Robin says, what's he doing? He's staring at me.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm staring at him. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, right. Hey, and that's honestly, God, I totally believe that 1,000% because, and I was always a skeptic when it comes to people that can do these things. I'm not going to lie. But Robin made me I believe in Robin, that's for sure. And, it was like, wow. And just like your little story there, man, that's
I've
just
seen
an
stuff
amazing-
like this with her over and over and
that's
over
an
and over
amazing
again.
talent.
We had another one where we took 3 honey buns still in the plastic packaging and stuck them on tree branches and didn't tell anybody. And then we got up to the campsite and I said, hey, go back and see if they actually found these things. We left them here 2 weeks ago, Mike. Grab your vehicle, it's only like 6 miles down the pass where this giant teepee structure was. Go see if they found any of those things. He's okay, he takes off. So meanwhile, not knowing that I had done it, I had already talked to Robin.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know those things were down there. She told them they were there. And by the time they got there, 2 of them had already been found by animals that had eaten them. One of them was still hanging on the tree branch, and they ate that one. Okay. So Mike comes back, and I'm like, so what'd you find? He goes, well, I found the wrappers from 2 of them laying on the ground. Looks like animals got at them. The third one was still stuck on the branch, but the contents had been taken out and eaten, and then the wrapper was stuck back on the branch.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
So it's exactly what she said,
No, right, exactly. And for those of you just coming on in, you're gonna have to watch replay top to bottom. This was a great show. We covered a lot of cool topics: giants, mountain giants, Bigfoot, and little paranormal toward the end here. And Hey, Duke, what you got going on? Because I'm glad I got you on. Thanks for coming on. Subscribe to World Bigfoot Central. I'm glad I got you on now because you're going to be hard to get a hold of in the summer. I imagine you'll be going right back out to the woods, the forests and mountains of Montana soon, eh?
Yeah, much as I can. I mean, like yesterday it was raining and hailing, and we were still out there for 3 or 4 hours walking around filming tracks. So it's pretty hard to keep me out of the woods. If I got transport to get there and I got money for gas, I'm pretty much there.
Absolutely. So again, you guys watch the replay, subscribe to Duke, subscribe to me if this is your first time here. Hit that like button on your way out. Do appreciate that, you guys. Thanks for coming in. And Duke, always a pleasure because we got things going on. I got to take off here in a little bit. And anything else you want to promote outside of your channel? Anything else we can find you? Because I know you.
Well, the subject of giants, the expert on the subject is going to be on my show here at the end of the month. And of course, I'm talking about biblical scholar Gary Wayne.
Gary Wayne. You know, I got that book. So I pulled out that book. And yeah, the mind explodes if you read it too fast.
Yeah, he tells everybody, don't read more than a chapter at a time. Your head will explode.
Hey, I got to tell you, man, when I read books, I usually read them fast.
Yeah.
To get through them. This book, you can't read fast because it's almost like I got to study every 2 pages.
Yeah.
There's so much information in there and it's hard to retain everything because it's like that thing. It's like, what, 1,000 pages?
It's like 800.
Yeah.
He promised when he turned out book number 2 that he wouldn't have as much annotation in it and it would be shorter.
Yeah, well, no,
it's longer. I've got it.
Gary Wayne. Well, I'm definitely tuning in that. You're gonna have to give Gary the good word on me down the road. Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely will. Well, you can book him to be on your show. You just got to wait 3 or 4 months because he's really popular right now. So
yeah, no, I imagine. I think he's even got I don't know how to get a hold of him. But anyways, that's neither here nor there for now. Thank you, Duke, so much. Always a great show. Thanks to Mr. Castro for your super chat and the 5 donations for members or pirates, that is. And tonight's.
I got one cool thing coming up this summer that I should announce just in case it happens.
Yeah, please.
Got a couple of Bigfoot luminaries planning on being up here and doing some research with me, so we might be able to put together another show's shirt. Inevitably Finding Bigfoot team. And in this case, it will be me, MK Davis, Robert Boston from Bigfoot in Germany, and whatever alternate shows up for spot number 4.
Really quickly, I know we're ending the show. How's Robert doing? I haven't talked to him in for ages.
I've got people. We need everybody put Robert on a prayer chain right now. He had another stroke-like experience recently. Spent the night in the hospital, trying to recover from it. So pray him back out of the grave so he's well enough to come up here and go Bigfoot with me and MK.
Yeah, and he's in. Is he in Nevada?
He's down in Nevada now. Yep.
Nevada. Very good. Well, another, of course, fitting state for him to be in too.
Yeah. Oh, that guy's a luminary. You know, some of the stuff he was doing most of the researchers still haven't caught up to where he was 8 years ago. Some of the technology and stuff he was using is like. He had the bucks and the good gear, man, and he knew what the hell he was doing. So it was amazing some of the stuff he captured.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people next to you that I spoke with back in 2018, 2019. And he told me some cool stuff. And but again, his health, he kind of dropped out of the circle, the social network, I guess. But anyway, prayers to him as well. And thanks to everybody for coming on in. Thanks. It's always a pleasure having you on. Check out Duke's on Sunday nights, 9 or East, 9 or 10.
8 Central.
8 Central, 9 my time. Very good, Duke. Thanks so much. Thanks to everybody for coming in. Hit that like button on your way out.
This is the future. Evolution.
Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.